Hi, hello. How are you? It has been a while. It's been a little while. Far longer than I really kind of wanted. But I am back to review a huge release in the underground rap scene, and that is actually not what you might be thinking. It's not JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown, which I will be getting to. It's actually Navy Blue's Ways of Knowing. If you don't know who Navy Blue is, he's basically a pretty big name in the like Earl Sweatshirt, Mavi, Alchemist, why I say it like that anyways. That kind of like pocket of the underground rap scene. He's also collaborated a few times with Arm & Hammer and More Mother, not just as a rapper but also a producer. He's a really good producer as well as a rapper. So yeah, this is a pretty big release in terms of, that style of rap is concerned. And to be honest with you, even though he has a pretty extensive discography, I think this new album is the perfect album as an introduction to Navy Blue if you haven't heard of him yet. I think this album gives you the clearest example of who Navy Blue is and what's important to him and what he's trying to say. So there's two things that I think make this album one of the best albums that I've ever heard in this recent underground confessional style of rap. The Navy Blues, the Earl Sweatshirts, the Mikes, the Wikis, that style, right? It really comes down to the quality of the production, and not just the quality, but also the diversity in the production and the different genres that are mixed with and experimented with. And then also, honestly, just Navy Blue's performance. He just really, really brings it on this album in every way imaginable, lyrically, vocally, and I'm not just talking about rapping, I'm talking about singing too. And he's singing well. It really fits within the different instrumentals on this track. This album really has a little bit of everything. It has some really great quality tracks that you would kind of expect in this style, like The Medium. I think The Medium is honestly one of the best tracks on this album. Oh my gosh, it is so good. You have this gospel choir that's sampled in the back, right, for the instrumental, kind of like the sound bed. But then you have these beautiful, just ornate pianos, just beautiful melodies, just going all across all 88 keys. It's absolutely gorgeous. I can't tell if this is also a sample because it's just so dynamic. I don't see how it can't be live instrumentation. But either way, it was either beautifully played live or just like masterfully sampled, and it creates this really atmospheric but also bright soundscape for Navy just to come in and really start the album on an incredible note. But then you have tracks like Fall in Love, which are like a reggae inspired kind of beat, and this I know is live instrumentation, at least the drums are. Some really tight drums, they sound great, and I think the live instrumentation on a lot of these tracks is really what sets them apart from an instrumental standpoint. And Navy is singing a really good hook on this track. It's just a really sweet, simple hook just about falling in love, and that's really what the verses are about too. It's really nothing crazy, nothing super witty or anything like that. It's just a really heartfelt message to someone who he must have had a relationship with in the past and it didn't really work out, and he wants to make things work again and apologizes for things that he did wrong in the relationship. And it's just really simple, and I mean that in the best way. You could even look at some of the lyrics, and sometimes he rhymes the same word with another, and it's very I don't want to use the word simple again, but it's almost kind of very rudimentary rhymes in a lot of places, but it doesn't really matter because the sentiment is so heartfelt, and Navy really puts his all into the performance, and the production does such a great job of already creating such like a warm and soulful energy that it doesn't really matter. I just think it's a really great track and something that a lot of people can relate to. But it's really kind of like a reggae track, or at least, very heavily inspired by that style, which is just not something you typically see on, a underground, soul album like this. And you have another track, Embers, which is a straight up jazz cut. And again, Navy's singing, and there's a couple of guest artists. The names are losing me. I had this written down, but now I can't find it in my notes. I will put it on the screen. So sorry. The background vocalist did a really great job. And again, Navy's singing was really strong on this track. And it really just was a beautiful moment on this album that, again, is totally different from what you would typically expect, what Navy's done in the past. This is just a straight up jazz track, and it sounds really, really good. In the context of what Navy raps about, brighter production really serves him well. You hear a track like Chosen, which is this declaration of self-love and, of appreciation for family and, victory and just pushing through all these different really heartfelt themes. Having that really bright production, which, Chosen is another track that features that, it just brings everything together in a way that is just honestly very powerful. I think that Navy made a very clear and focused effort to make these songs fit what he's trying to express as best as he possibly could. And it makes for a really cohesive listen with no track really feeling like it's out of place. And the message of each of these tracks and what he's talking about on here, it allows each track to also reinforce the other one. I can't listen to The Medium without listening to Chosen, or I can't listen to Fall in Love without then listening to Phases, which is an amazing, like, gospel-centered track that has this high-pitched production. Another standout on the album, maybe the best track. I mean, there's so many tracks here that are really, really solid, but Life's Terms is just such an incredible moment on the album. It's a really triumphant track, and it's another moment where there's a lot of vibrant pianos and some really nice synths actually in the background. There's kind of like a sound bed to really keep things together. It's one of the only moments where synths are on the album. It's very subtle. It's probably like more of like a lower pad kind of sound, but it really holds things together and brings almost this like heavenly, otherworldly sense, but still provides like a sense of clarity that also, you know, fits really well with the really active drumming that's on the track. Again, I think the percussion on this album is really, really incredible. Zero, who's a feature on this track, does a really, really great job, and both he and Navy just really kind of bare their soul on this track. There's a couple of really just beautiful lines on this track where Navy says at one point, he says he's going at the pace of his tears falling, which is... I don't even, that doesn't even need analysis. It's just beautiful. And that's how a lot of the lyrics on this album are. They don't really require a lot of breaking down or unpacking. It's not really about this crazy rhyme scheme or anything like that. It's just these beautiful affirmations and expressions of life and living and hope. There was another moment on this track where he just simply asks, how come I'm hurting in my 20s? And just the way that he said it, it was just like, oh, it was just like a gut punch. It was so heart-wrenching. And then just to have the hook come back in and just reaffirm, like, that's just the way it goes. That's just life. With the really triumphant instrumental in the background, it's just like, it's beautiful. And again, I've said that a couple of times, but that really is just how I feel about this album. It really sort of just speaks for itself. Window to the Soul is another highlight that's far slower than the pace of a lot of the other tracks on this album. The feature, Kelly Moonstone, does a really great job here. I've never heard her before, but she actually kind of reminds me of Armani Caesar in the sense that her tone, the tone of her voice, is really kind of what makes her stand out as an MC. She, just like Navy, just sounds completely natural on the mic, like they were born to rap in this style. And yeah, I mean, she just did a really, really great job. Shadow Shield is a really great closer track as well, with this just completely and utterly like just angelic message from his grandmother, or I think it's his grandmother, it's some member of his family, just again affirming him, telling him that he's an asset to this world, giving him credit for facing some of his demons and really just staying true to himself. And it's a really fitting way to end an album that is really just about self-love and self-reflection and family and really just living and existing and being in this day and age. And yeah, I mean, I just think that Navy Blue really accomplished something special with this album. I think, again, like I said, I left it feeling like I really understood who he was as a person and as a rapper. And I think that is like, I don't know, for me, that's the highest compliment I can give to this kind of confessional style of rapping. That you know, communicated what you wanted to communicate effectively. But yeah, this album just really hit in a lot of different ways, and I would recommend, if you're going to listen to it all the way through so you really get that emotional journey, because it's a hard hitter. It's a hard hitter for sure. I just think on all levels, in terms of the production, the versatility, Navy's performances, the lyricism, it all just comes together and complements each other in such a really just cohesive way, like I said again. And yeah, I think this should be an example album for anyone who's really trying to express themselves through song, honestly. That is really how I feel about it. So definitely give this one a listen. It's also an easy listen as well. I mean, it's kind of hard to dislike an album like this. It's just really just quality. I'll probably be returning to this album to do a more focused, like, lyrical breakdown about his writing style, because I just think there's a lot of really interesting things that we can learn from, just, you know, from an artist's perspective and a writer's perspective on this album. But I wanted to give an overall just review of the album before I return to it in the future. Speaking of lyrical breakdowns, I still plan on doing the Earl Sweatshirt lyrical breakdown. I swear I am working on it. So what's going on with that is that, again, I am like in the middle of my school semester, my last one, so I will have some more free time soon. But I wanted to give the sequel to like the biggest video on my channel like proper research and thought, and I really wanted to put together something that I felt was really, really interesting and had some things that people can really learn from. And right now, just with my school semester, I just have not had the time to give it as much time as I want to give it. So that's why I figured I would at least come on and, just give, a more standard review of some albums that are coming out. So lyrical breakdowns are taking just a very small pause. I swear, literally, I have like a month left until I graduate, and then I can really go into this channel as much as I want to. But until then, I do want to give my thoughts on a few albums that have come out recently. I'm going to be covering JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown next. Yeah, it's good. That's my spoiler there. It's amazing. And also, I have mentioned a lot of times in the past that I wanted to get into covering movies and TVs and different things like that. And I'm going to be officially starting that. I'm going to be covering season 4 of Succession. Yes, episode 1 already came out, but I'm starting with episode 2 because I got behind on things. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. If you watch Succession, if you like that show, I will be covering that as well. And yeah, I have a couple of other ideas of things that, I want to talk about just in general. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. But yeah, until next time, I will see you later. Have a great day, a great week. Be smart, make good decisions, and I will see you later.